Plant 1. Actaea simplex brunette. First up, Actaea simplex brunette, also known as black bugbane or black cohosh. What makes this plant a showstopper is its deep chocolate purple foliage that holds its color all season long. Then in late summer to fall, it sends up tall, wand-like spikes covered in fragrant white flowers that almost glow against the dark leaves. It loves moist, shady spots and is a fantastic way to add drama to a woodland or cottage-style border. Bonus, it's deer-resistant, so it's a great pick if local wildlife keeps eating your garden. It typically grows 3 to 5 feet tall and thrives in USDA zones 4 through 8, blooming from September into October, right when most of the garden is winding down. The roots of true black cohosh have a long history in herbal medicine, particularly for menopause symptoms, though brunette is mostly grown ornamentally. It's a slow starter, so give it a couple of seasons to settle in before expecting a big show, and it pairs beautifully with ferns, hostas, and other shade-loving companions that won't compete with its dark foliage. If you fall in love with this one, you're not stuck with just one option. Sister cultivars like black negligee and chocoholic offer slightly different leaf textures and flower forms, so it's worth comparing a few before you choose. Plant the crown at soil level and mulch well, since it resents drying out, and avoid afternoon sun, which can scorch that dark foliage. Division in early spring is the easiest way to multiply your stock, though established plants don't love being disturbed, so do it sparingly. Those late-season blooms are also a real lifeline for bees and moths still foraging before the first frost, making this as good for pollinators as it is for your border's curb appeal. Plant 2. Anemonella thalictroides. Next, a true woodland treasure, Anemonella thalictroides, commonly called Rue Anemone. This little native North American wildflower produces dainty white or soft pink blooms on thin, wiry stems above lacy, fern-like foliage. It's one of the earliest spring ephemerals to appear, carpeting forest floors before the tree canopy fills in. If you've got a shaded native garden, this delicate beauty is an absolute must. Standing only 4 to 8 inches tall, it's perfectly suited to rock gardens, shaded borders, or naturalized woodland plantings, and it's hardy in zones 4 through 8. Like other spring ephemerals, the foliage dies back and disappears by midsummer, so it's smart to mark its spot or plant it among later emerging perennials that can fill the gap. It spreads slowly by self-seeding and tuberous roots, so patience is key, but once established it will quietly return, a little more abundant year after year. Botanists have actually reclassified this little plant more than once. You'll sometimes see it listed under its newer name, thalictroides, in plant catalogs and reference books, so don't be thrown off if the label doesn't match what you searched for. Its seeds are dispersed in a fascinating way. Ants are drawn to a fatty structure attached to each seed and carry them back to their nests, inadvertently planting the next generation a little further afield. For the best woodland tableau, tuck it in alongside trilliums, bloodroot, hepatica, and woodland phlox, all of which share its love of dappled spring light and undisturbed soil. Just don't try to move a mature clump. The tuberous roots are easily damaged, and it can take years to recover. Plant 3. Anemonopsis macrophylla. Number 3 is a rare find even among plant collectors. Anemonopsis macrophylla, or false anemone. Native to the mountain woodlands of Japan, this elegant perennial produces nodding, waxy lavender-purple flowers in mid to late summer, right when most shade plants have stopped blooming. It needs cool, consistently moist, humus-rich soil, which makes it a bit of a challenge, but for shade gardeners who love a rare specimen, it's absolutely worth the effort. Despite the common name, it isn't a true anemone. It's actually the sole species in its own genus, and a member of the buttercup family. Expect a mature height of about 1 to 2 feet, hardiness in zones 6 through 8, and a strong preference for acidic soil. It's notoriously slow to grow from seed and rarely found at typical nurseries, so most gardeners track it down through specialty growers or plant society seed exchanges, part of what makes finding one feel like such a win. In the wild, it's typically found growing in the dappled understory of Japanese beech forests, where the air stays humid and the soil never fully dries out, conditions worth trying to recreate at home with regular misting or a spot near a water feature. A double-flowered form called flor pleno occasionally shows up in specialty catalogs and is even more prized by collectors. Watch out for slugs and snails, which find the lush foliage just as appealing as you do, and consider pairing it with hosta S or Japanese maples for a cohesive, woodland Japanese garden aesthetic. Containers can work too, as long as you can control moisture and shade more precisely than an open garden bed allows. Plant 4, Angelica. Number 4 is a giant, Angelica. This tall, architectural plant produces massive umbrella-shaped flower clusters atop sturdy stems that can reach 4 to 6 feet. Some species, like Angelica gigas, have stunning deep maroon-purple blooms, while others are used in herbal medicine and even candied as a culinary treat. It's a pollinator magnet. Bees and butterflies absolutely love it, and it makes a bold vertical statement at the back of any border. Angelica gigas hails originally from Korea and Japan and is biennial or short-lived perennial, often growing as a foliage rosette the first year before flowering and setting seed in the second. It's hardy in zones 4 through 9, self-seeds readily once happy, and serves as a host plant for swallowtail butterfly caterpillars. Historically, candied Angelica stems have been used to decorate cakes, and the plant is also a flavoring component in chartreuse liqueur and several gin recipes. Proof that this garden giant pulls double duty in the kitchen and the border. Angelica belongs to the carrot and parsley family, Apiaceae, which explains the familiar umbrella-shaped flower clusters, or umbels. The name itself is said to come from the archangel Michael, since the plant was once believed to ward off plague and evil spirits. A nice bit of folklore to share if you're giving a garden tour. Because it self-seeds so generously, deadhead spent flower heads if you want to keep it from popping up where you didn't plan for it. Its height does come with a trade-off. In exposed or windy spots, the hollow stems can benefit from staking, and aphids occasionally take an interest in new growth, though they tend to bring in ladybugs as a natural cleanup crew. Plant 5, Angel's Trumpet. And here's the one I mentioned at the start, Angel's Trumpet or Brugmansia. These flowers are genuinely jaw-dropping, huge, pendulous, trumpet-shaped blooms in white, yellow, peach, or pink, often filling the evening air with an incredible fragrance. But here's the catch. Every part of this plant, leaves, flowers, seeds, contains powerful tropin alkaloids. It's seriously toxic if ingested and has a history of causing severe poisoning and hallucinations. It's stunning in a container on a patio, but please keep it well away from children, pets, and curious hands. Brugmansia is native to South America and is only reliably hardy outdoors in zones 8 through 10. Everywhere else it's grown as a container plant and brought indoors before frost. In the ground, it can reach an impressive 6 to 15 feet, while potted specimens are usually kept more compact through pruning. The blooms open and release their strongest fragrance at night, which is no accident. They're pollinated by moths. Its close botanical cousin, Datura, sometimes called devil's trumpet, shares the same toxic alkaloids and the same need for careful placement in any garden. Botanically, it sits in the nightshade family alongside tomatoes and potatoes, which is a good reminder that plenty of beautiful, even useful, plant relatives can still be dangerous in the wrong part of the family tree. If you grow it in a container, propagation is refreshingly easy from stem cuttings, so a single plant can multiply into several over a couple of seasons. Before the first frost, prune it back hard and move it to a cool, bright spot indoors for winter dormancy, then reintroduce it outside gradually once the weather warms. Breeders have produced striking double-flowered and multi-toned cultivars over the years, and historically, certain indigenous Andean cultures used related species in ceremonial contexts, a sobering detail for a plant that looks this much like a garden ornament. Plant 6, Azalea. Number 6 is a garden classic, azalea. These flowering shrubs explode with color every spring, smothering themselves in blooms of pink, red, white, orange, and purple. They thrive in acidic, well-drained soil and partial shade, making them perfect understory plants beneath taller trees. One important note, though, like angel's trumpet, azaleas contain gray anotoxins and are toxic if eaten, especially to pets and livestock. Gorgeous to look at, just not to nibble. Azaleas are technically part of the rhododendron genus and come in both evergreen and deciduous types, generally hardy in zones 5 through 8 depending on variety, with mature heights ranging from 2 to 6 feet. For the best bloom next year, prune them right after flowering finishes, since they set next season's buds shortly afterward. Interestingly, the same gray anotoxins that make the plant toxic can also turn up in honey made from azalea or rhododendron nectar, sometimes called mad honey, which has a documented history of causing illness in people who consume too much of it. Most evergreen Azalea varieties trace their roots back to East Asian species, while many deciduous types are native to North America, which is part of why there's such a wide range of bloom times, colors, and cold tolerance to choose from. A heavy mulch of pine bark or pine needles helps maintain the acidic soil they crave, and it's best to avoid lime-based fertilizers, which can quickly push the soil pH in the wrong direction. Keep an eye out for lace bugs, which leave a stippled, faded look on the foliage, and azalea gall, a fungal issue that causes odd swollen growths on leaves in spring. And if you've ever watched the Masters golf tournament in Augusta, those famous blooms lining the course are largely azaleas. They're practically a cultural icon in their own right. Plant 7, Baptisia. Number 7 brings us back to native beauty. Baptisia, also called false indigo. This tough, drought-tolerant prairie perennial sends up striking spires of blue, purple, or yellow pea-like flowers in late spring. Once established, it's incredibly low maintenance and even improves your soil by fixing nitrogen. If you want a plant that looks elegant but barely needs any care, Baptisia is it. Baptisia is native to the prairies and open woodlands of North America, hardy in zones 3 through 9, and typically reaches 3 to 4 feet tall and wide at maturity. It develops a deep, tough taproot almost immediately, which is exactly why it shrugs off drought so well. But it also means it resents being transplanted once it's settled in, so choose its spot carefully from the start. Bumblebees in particular are drawn to its flowers, and the foliage serves as a host plant for several butterfly and moth species, making it as valuable for wildlife as it is for the border. The genus name comes from the Greek word for to die, a nod to its long history as a substitute indigo source, used by Native American communities and early American settlers before true indigo became widely available. Beyond the spring flower show, the seed pods turn black and rattle in the wind come fall, adding a second season of interest if you leave the stems standing through winter. As a legume, it partners with soil bacteria to fix nitrogen at its roots, quietly enriching the bed it grows in, so you'll rarely, if ever, need to fertilize it. It also pairs beautifully with ornamental grasses and coneflowers for a relaxed, prairie-style planting that needs very little upkeep once established. Plant 8, Bay Laurel. Number 8 is one you might already have in your kitchen, Bay Laurel. This aromatic evergreen tree or shrub produces the classic bay leaves used in cooking, but it's also a fantastic ornamental. It can be trimmed into elegant topiary shapes or grown as a fragrant hedge. It's slow-growing, low-maintenance, and gives you fresh bay leaves for your kitchen all year round, function and beauty in one plant. Botanically known as Laurus nobilis, Bay laurel is hardy outdoors in zones 8 through 11, and can reach up to 40 feet in its native Mediterranean habitat, though garden and container specimens are usually kept much smaller through regular pruning. In colder regions, it's a popular patio plant grown in pots and moved indoors over winter. Its history runs deep. In ancient Greece and Rome, Laurel wreaths made from this very plant crowned poets, athletes, and victors, which is where we get phrases like poet laureate and resting on one's laurels. In mythology, the laurel is closely tied to Apollo, which only adds to its air of classical elegance in a garden setting. If you're harvesting leaves for cooking, it's worth knowing that fresh bay leaves are quite bitter. Drying them for a week or two mellows the flavor, and is how most kitchens actually use them. Watch for scale insects and the aptly named bay sucker, both of which can affect leaf health, though neither tends to be a serious threat with occasional inspection. Propagation is usually done from semi-hardwood cuttings taken in summer, and with patience and a sheltered spot. Even gardeners in cooler zones can sometimes overwinter a young plant outdoors with extra mulch and protection. Plant 9. Coral bells. Number 9 is a foliage superstar, coral bells or Heuchera. Forget the flowers for a second, it's the leaves that steal the show here, coming in amber, lime green, deep purple, silver, and almost black. On top of that gorgeous foliage, it sends up airy spikes of small bell-shaped flowers that hummingbirds absolutely adore. It's a fantastic ground cover for shade gardens and pairs beautifully with almost anything you plant alongside it. Heuchera is native to North American woodlands and rock outcrops, hardy in zones 4 through 9, and stays compact at around 12 to 18 inches tall when in bloom. In milder climates, the foliage stays evergreen right through winter, adding color when little else is going. Clumps benefit from being divided every 3 to 4 years to keep them vigorous, and with hundreds of named cultivars available, it's easy to mix and match leaf colors for a tapestry effect along a shaded path or border edge. The genus is named after Johann Heinrich von Heuchera, an 18th-century German botanist, though you'd never guess that lineage from how at home this plant feels in a cottage or woodland garden today. One easy mistake to avoid: plant the crown right at soil level, since burying it too deep is a common cause of crown rot. Its slightly fuzzy leaves make it generally deer-resistant, which is a welcome bonus if browsing animals are an issue in your area. For a layered shade planting, try combining it with astilbe, hosta, and ferns. The contrast in leaf texture and color makes even a small shaded corner feel intentionally designed. Plant 10. Deinanthe caerulea. And finally, number 10, one of the rarest plants on this list, Deinanthe caerulea. This exotic Chinese woodland perennial, a relative of the hydrangea, produces unusual cup-shaped waxy blue flowers that nod gently above broad, textured leaves. It needs deep shade and consistently moist, rich soil to thrive, which makes it a true collector's plant. If you manage to grow this one successfully, you've genuinely got something special in your garden. Deinanthe belongs to the Hydrangeaceae family and is native to the mountain forests of central China, hardy in zones 6 through 8. It stays low, usually just 1 to 2 feet tall, and blooms in early to midsummer with flowers that never fully open, giving them that distinctive nodding, cup-like shape. It's extremely particular about consistent moisture and will sulk or scorch if it dries out or gets too much sun, which is part of why it's so rarely seen for sale. Most gardeners who grow it successfully propagate it carefully by division, rather than relying on seed. The genus name itself translates roughly to strange flower in Greek, which feels fitting given how unlike a typical hydrangea relative those waxy, never fully opening blooms really are. A close relative, Deinanthe bifida, produces white flowers instead of blue and is sometimes grown alongside the species for contrast in collector gardens. While it demands consistent moisture, good drainage still matters. Sitting in waterlogged soil over winter can be just as damaging as drying out in summer. For the best companions, look to other choice shade garden rarities like Disporum or Podophyllum, plants that share its love of cool, undisturbed woodland conditions. The silver lining for all this fussiness is that deer and rabbits tend to leave it completely alone, so once it's happy for the long haul.